For most of your life, the world has worked in a very specific way. Goods moved freely across borders. Companies built supply chains that stretched across continents. Money flowed quickly from one country to another. It was called globalization. But what we are seeing right now is the end of it. So what does that actually mean? Well, here's a very simple way of looking at it. After World War II, the world was completely shattered. Entire countries were destroyed. Millions were dead. And everyone understood one thing very clearly, that another world war like that could not be allowed to happen again. So a new global system was built. The idea was simple in theory. Countries would become economically dependent on one another. Trade would bind them together. Growth and stability would replace constant conflict. But this system required cooperation, shared rules, and enforcement. Each major region of the world was given a role. China became the factory of the world. It produced cheap goods at a scale and cost that no other country could match. Japan played the role of lender, keeping interest rates extremely low and providing liquidity that kept the financial system running smoothly. Europe focused on consumption, social stability, and welfare, relying heavily on imported energy and manufactured goods, and the United States became the enforcer by providing military security and the world's reserve currency. The US dollar became central to global trade. Oil had to be bought using dollars. In return, the United States guaranteed the security of trade routes and guaranteed that this system stayed intact. This structure created what some economists call a rules-based order. If you played by the rules, you got access to markets, investment, and protection. If you didn't, you faced sanctions, isolation, or war. That's how the system worked. And for a long time, it worked very well, at least on the surface. If you were an investor, this was a golden age. Stocks rose, capital flowed freely, retirements were funded. If you were a large corporation, profits exploded. But if you were an average worker, especially in the United States, the story was very different. Factories moved overseas, jobs disappeared, and communities hollowed out. America shifted away from producing physical goods and became more dependent on financial services, technology, and debt. This made the country richer on paper, but more fragile in reality. The middle class shrank, wealth concentrated in few hands, and the country became dependent on other nations for basic goods. This wasn't an accident, it was the cost of keeping the system alive. Because to maintain globalization, you don't just need peace, you need constant pressure. You need permanent enforcement, you need forever wars. And eventually the cost became too high. Fast forward to today, some countries looked at this system and said, we don't want to play anymore. Instead of using the dollar, they started trading with each other directly. Instead of relying on Western markets, they built their own markets. Instead of following the rules, they challenged them. And here is the problem. The old system cannot enforce compliance anymore without triggering a global war. And no one wants that. Sanctions have lost effectiveness as alternative trade networks grow stronger. At recent global meetings, even the people who benefited most from globalization admitted something quietly but clearly. The system has failed the West. It failed American workers, and it's no longer sustainable. So now the question is no longer how do we protect globalization? The question is what replaces it? And to understand that, you need to understand the players. There are four major power groups shaping what comes next. The first is global finance. This is money that doesn't belong to any country. It doesn't care about borders, flags, or national identity. It only cares about one thing: movement. Fast, liquid, controllable money. In a globalized world, this kind of power thrives, but in a fragmented world, borders create friction. Different currencies, different rules, different systems. So their solution is simple: remove friction entirely. That's where things like tokenized assets, digital money, and automated systems come in. If money can move instantly, globally, without governments slowing it down, control remains intact, even if nations break apart. The second group is banks and central institutions. These are the old gatekeepers. Their power comes from controlling credit, deposits, and money creation, but they're under threat. If private systems replace them, if money becomes programmable without them, they become irrelevant. So their response is digital national currencies. Money that looks modern, but keeps control centralized. This is not about innovation, it's about survival. The third group is sovereign states. These are countries that value control more than growth. They don't care if markets underperform. They don't care if investors complain. They care about energy independence, food security, and military control. They are willing to accept economic pain to maintain sovereignty. And that's why globalization threatens them. Open capital means open influence, and open influence means lost control. The fourth group is technology. Technology doesn't care who is in charge. It works with whoever funds it. Governments, corporations, or financial institutions. Its power comes from data, automation, and scale. scale. As globalization breaks down, technology becomes even more valuable because it replaces what trust and cooperation used to do. Digital IDs, automated enforcement, algorithmic decision-making. So basically, efficiency replaces consensus. And finally, there's the enforcement layer, the military and security complex. Its role is simple. Whatever system exists, it enforces it. Not ideology, not morality, just stability. So what does all of this mean for the future? It means we are not heading toward chaos. We are probably heading toward restructuring. Less global trade, more regional blocks, less dependence, more duplication, more friction, more control. This is not good versus evil. It's power versus power. And most of what you are watching right now, the headlines, the conflicts, the outrage, it's all theatre. The negotiations have already happened. What you're seeing now is positioning. Who looks strong? Who looks weak? Who gets leverage in the new world order? And the most important thing to understand is this. When a system changes, it doesn't announce itself loudly, it normalizes quietly. So instead of asking what's going to happen next, ask something better. Like, what kind of world are these systems preparing us for? Because once you can see the pattern, the future stops feeling random and starts making sense. Do share this videos with others if you found it useful.